Hi, thank you for joining me. In this video we are going to walk through the questions of the Foundation Tier GCSE Maths paper, paper 1 of the November 29 series. I hope you find this useful. If you do, please do subscribe to my channel. Let's start then with question 1. We are asked to write down the value of the 7 in the number 1074. And in fact, saying it out loud like that does give us the answer. It is 1074. Therefore, the 7 is the 70. Another way to look at this, if you look at the columns in the number, the 4 is in the units column, the 7 is in the tens column, so we have 7 tens. 7 times 10 equals 70. In question 2 we are asked to write 4.58 correct to one decimal place. Let's write the number out a little bit larger. 4.58. Well, one decimal place is simply one number after the decimal point. In this case that is the 5, so we are rounding to the 5. We need to decide whether we're going to round up or down, so the number we look at is the next number on, which is the 8. Using the rule 5 or above means that as an 8 it is above 5, therefore we're going to round this number up. So the 8 means we are rounding up to 4.6. In question 3 we are asked to work out 31.7 times 100. Let's write it out again a little bit larger. We start with 31.7. Multiplying by 100, it has two noughts, therefore we are going to take the decimal point and we are going to move it 2 places to the right, adding any zeros as we go. So our answer is 3170. In question 4 we are simplifying fractions. We are asked to write 28 over 70 in its simplest form. So we're going to start with 28 over 70. We simply need to find a number, any number will do, which will divide exactly into 28 and 70. In this case the number 7 divides, so 28 divided by 7 is 4, and 70 divided by 7 is 10. Therefore we have simplified it, but it does say write it in its simplest form, so we need to look again. Can I go any simpler? Yes, I can. These two numbers will both divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. I cannot go any further, therefore this is its simplest form. Question 5. Write 15% as a decimal. Quite simply, to convert a percentage into a decimal, we divide by 100. So 15 divided by 100. This time we're going to take the decimal point of 15, which is here on the end, and we're going to move it 2 places to the left because we are dividing, and the answer we get is 0.15. Question 6 is in 3 parts, and we have a pictogram showing information about the number of pictures sold in an art shop in each of January, February and March. So here's our pictogram, and we have the all-important key. So we know that one square represents 8 pictures, so each of these squares is 8. But it's also interesting to note that in February and March we also have some half squares. Therefore, half of 8 is 4. So let's have a look at the 3 parts of the question. We have A, write down the number of pictures sold in January. Well, it's 3 times 8. So 3 times 8 is 24. 12 pictures were sold in April. So for part B, we're asked to put this on the pictogram. Well, if we are wanting to represent 12, we know that one square is going to be 8 and a half a square is going to be 4. Therefore 8 plus 4 we have 12. We're then asked the total number of pictures sold in the 4 months. Well, we have 9 lots of 8 equals 72, and we have 3 lots of 4, so that's another 12. Altogether 84 paintings. Question 7. Work out the difference in minutes between 1 hour 25 and 1¼ hours. Well, let's have a look at this. We know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. So in this first time here, we have 60 plus 25, 1 hour and 25. That therefore is 85 minutes. In the second time here, we also have 1 hour, which is 60, but we have a quarter of an hour. A quarter of 60 is 15, therefore 60 plus 15 is 75 minutes. Take one away from the other, the difference is 10 minutes. In question 8 we are told Prasha has 5 blocks of wood. The total weight of all 5 blocks is 3 kilograms. 4 of the blocks of wood each have a weight of 650 grams, so we need to work out the weight of the other block. Well, first of all, 3 kilograms we need to know is 3,000 grams. So that's the total weight in grams. We know that 4 of the blocks are 650 grams each, so that's 650 times 4. 4 nothings is nothing. 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2. 4 times 6 is 24, plus the 2 is 26. So the 4 blocks have a total weight of 2,600 grams. If we take that away from the total, we find that the 4th block of wood must be 400 grams. Question 9, we are told PQR is a straight line. There's PQR on the bottom, and we're simply asked to work out the size of angle X. Well, one thing that we need to know in order to answer this is one of the angles laws, and it is that angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Therefore, the other two are 100 plus 35. They add up to 135. So if we take that away from the 180, then what is left must be angle X, 45 degrees. Question 10 is all about coordinates, and we are asked first of all to plot the point with coordinates 3, 2. Therefore we go on the x-axis 3, up the y-axis 2, and put an X right on the corner there, and we are asked to label it A, so let's just call it A. Part B, write down the coordinates of the midpoint of the line BC. Well, with a line such as this, we can do it using the coordinates, but actually the straightforward way is to simply count down the line. This line crosses 4 squares from corner to corner diagonally, therefore it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, so halfway down is 2, so that will be 1, 2, therefore the point halfway is here, and the coordinates of that particular point are -1, 0. Question 11. Mason throws a coin 3 times, and the outcome of each throw is either heads or tails, and we're being asked to list all the possible outcomes of the 3 throws. We need to be organised in order to answer this one. Let's have a look at the scenario if the first throw landed on heads. So, if that was the case, then there is the possibility that the next 2 throws also land on heads. In other words, we get 3 heads. Or the next 2 throws could be a heads and a tails, or they could be a tails or a heads, or they could be 2 tails. Alternatively, the first throw could be tails. We then have to have a look at what happens to the second 2. Well, if we copy what we did in the first set here, first of all, they could be 2 more tails, they could be tails, heads, they could be heads, tails, or they could be 2 more heads. And those are all the possibilities. Question 12 is in two parts, so let's look at the first part first. So we are told that Rayhan is on holiday in the USA. He has $200 to spend on clothes, and we have a list of what he buys, and we need to know whether he has enough money left to buy the jacket after purchasing the t-shirts and the trainers. So just because it's in dollars makes no difference whatsoever. So we have a pair of trainers, that is $60. We have 3 t-shirts costing $25 each, so 3 times 25 is 75. So far he has spent $135. If he also buys the jacket, that would be an extra $80. That would bring his total to $215. He only has $200 to spend, so no, he cannot afford to buy the jacket. Let's move on to part B. The trainers cost $60. We already know that. We're now given an exchange rate. $1 equals 0.749 pounds. Now Rayhan is saying the trainers cost less than £40. It tells us that Rayhan is wrong, and we need to work out why using suitable approximation. There's a key word to this question. So let's have a look at this exchange rate. We are looking at dollars to pounds, and we are told it is 1 to 0.749. Well, if we're going to approximate, let's approximate that to $1 to 0.75. In other words, $1 is 75 pence. Therefore, what we need to do is to take the 60 and multiply it by 0.75. Well, 0.75 is 3/4, so what we are looking for is 3/4 of 60. That would be 60 divided by 4, then multiplied by 3, and we get the answer £45. So in fact, the trainers would be £45 in sterling, which is why Rayhan is wrong. Question 13a is asking us to simplify 2a times 5b. We have two terms which we are multiplying together. We always start with the numbers and then the letters. 2 times 5 is 10. We have nothing to multiply the a with, therefore we leave it as it is, and there is nothing to multiply the b with, so our answer is 10ab. And part B, we are also asked to simplify. This time it is terms that have been added or taken away, and in a case like this we are looking to collect like terms. So let's have a look at the x's. We have 3x plus 5x. 3 plus 5, we have 8x. The y's, we have plus 2y minus a y. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Therefore we have plus 1y. Question 14 simply asks us to work out 23 times 15. There is of course the grid method, the lattice method, but I am simply going to do this using standard multiplication. 23 times 15. So we start with the 5. It is 5 times 3 is 15. The 5 goes down there, and the 1 ready for the next column. We then have 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 1 is 11. We're now going to multiply by the 1. Don't forget the 1 is in the tens column, so the answer has to start in the tens column, which is why I'm going to pre-fill this column with a 0. We then have 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 2 is 2. Once we have the two lines, we add them together. 5, 4, 3. Question 15 is all about a frequency tree. Now with a question like this, the trick is to use the information that you have got to work out the information that you don't. So let's see what we already know about this frequency tree. 120 people were at a hockey match. That has been pre-filled for us. Each person was asked if they wanted to stand or to sit to watch the match. So we have people sitting and standing, and we also have males and females. We are told 75 of the people were female. So straight away, 75 can go at the end of the strand for females. We also know that 29 of the males wanted to stand. So males follow the route, standing 29. It then tells us that 30 of the people wanted to sit. Now we don't have enough information just yet about this, so let's see if we can fill anything else in. Well, first of all, if there were 120 people and 75 of them were female, that must mean that the other 45 must be the males. They have to add together to make 120. Now we know that out of the 45 males, 29 of them wanted to stand. Therefore, there must be another 16 males who wanted to sit down. Now let's have a look at this last piece of information. 30 of the people wanted to sit. Now, we now know that out of that 30 people wanting to sit, 16 of them are males. Therefore, the other 14 to make up to 30 must be female. So we can put 14 in the female seated line. Our last one is how many females there are standing. Well, out of 75, 14 of them are sitting down. Therefore, the other 61 must be standing. We then have a second part to question 15, and it's telling us that one of the 120 people is chosen at random, and we have to write down the probability that this person is a male who wanted to stand. Therefore, we have 29 males who wanted to stand. So the probability is 29 out of 120. It is always worth looking at this point to see whether or not we can simplify this probability, but in fact 29 is a prime number. It doesn't divide by anything. Therefore, 29 over 120 is your final answer. Question 16. We have a distance and time graph here, and we're told that Steve drove from his home to his friend's house. He stayed at his friend's house and then drove home. And here's his travel graph. The question we're asked is, how many minutes did Steve stay at his friend's house? Well, let's have a look at the journey. The outward journey, the distance that he's travelling, he's starting at home here and he's travelling up the line until he gets to his friend's house at this point here. We know he's then stationary because the line is neither going up or down, it is level, and then he starts to make his journey back home here, back down to the end of the graph. So it is this part of the graph here that tells us how long he stays at his friend's. A couple of ways of doing this, simply by marking out the time is one way. If we look at the scale on the bottom, this is 12:30 and then we have 1 o'clock. We are exactly in between the two, so this must be 12:45, and if the first marker is 12:45, the second one is simple. It is on the 13:30, the 1:30. So we have 1:45 through to 1:30. That would be 3/4 of an hour, which is 45 minutes. Alternatively, you could look at the scale here and realize that each of 2 boxes is 30 minutes. Therefore, 1 box is 15 minutes. So we have 15, 15, and 15, add them together, once again we get 45 minutes. Let's move on to the second part of this question. Part B of this question is relating to the same travel graph, but we're being asked what was Steve's average speed on his journey home. Now we need to be careful here. It would be a natural thing to start considering the triangle, which tells us how to work out speed. So that makes it speed is distance divided by time, and we can start making those calculations. But actually, without a calculator, remembering this is a non-calculator paper, we can end up with some quite awkward decimals here. Let's instead take a more practical look at the graph itself. The distance that he's travelled, well, when he set off from his friend's house here, looking at the scale up the side, the distance he has travelled is 25 kilometres. Now let's have a look at how long it's taken him to get home. Well, he set off here at 1:30 and he got home for 2 o'clock. So actually he's travelled 25 kilometres in half an hour. Therefore, if he's travelling 25 kilometres in half an hour, we need to know what his speed is kilometres per hour. Then in 1 hour, that is twice the time, he would have travelled 50 kilometres. Therefore, his average speed is 50 kilometres an hour. Question 17. X minus 1 equals 2. Work out the value of 2x squared. Okay, in order to find out the value of 2x squared, we need to know the value of x. So let's start at the beginning then. X minus 1 equals 2. If we move the minus 1 and take it to the other side of the equation, it becomes a plus 1. So we end up with x equals 2 plus 1. Therefore, x is equal to 3. We are looking for the value of 2x squared. Well, now that we know that x is 3, this must be 2 times 3 squared. Using BIDMAS, we do the powers first, so that makes it 2 times 3 squared is 9. 2 times 9 equals 18. Question 18. The pie charts show information about the favourite animal of each student at school A and each student at school B. So we have 2 pie charts and they've shown their preferences as to whether they like lions, monkeys or tigers. This is broken down into degrees for us, and we also know how many students there are at each school. Henry says the same number of students at each school have tigers as their favourite animal. We need to know whether it's correct and show our working. Let's have a look at school A first. We have lions, tigers, monkeys. We know that 60 degrees of the pie chart are monkeys, and that lions and tigers share equally the rest. They are both angle X. Well, if a whole circle is 360 degrees and monkeys make up 60, that means the lions and tigers are sharing the other 300 degrees. And because they are both angle X, they must be both half of 300. So tigers in this case is 150 degrees. Let's have a look at how we would work out how many students actually like tigers best. Well, the fraction we've got is 150 out of 360 degrees. That gives us the fraction. We then multiply that by the number of students. Now this might seem a little daunting without a calculator. Possibly the easiest way is, first of all, let's simplify the fraction. Let's cancel out the zeros. We now have 15 over 36 times 480. You can do this in any order, and I would suggest, looking at the numbers here, you do the multiplication first. So the first thing we do is 480 times 15. With this we get 5 noughts is 0, 5 eighths is 40, we're going to carry the 4, 5 fours are 20 plus the 4, 2,400, then we're going to multiply by the 10, pop in the 0, 1 nought is 0, 1 8 is 8, and 1 4 is 4. If we add these together, we get to 7,200. Now we know we then need to divide that by 36. And the nice thing is, when we ask how many 36s are there in 72, the answer is exactly 2, and then we have 0 and 0. So, for school A, there are 200 students like tigers best. School B is a little simpler, because tigers, we are told it is 90 degrees. Now we could do the same thing. We could do 90 divided by 360 and then multiply by 760. But actually, if we bear in mind that 90 degrees is actually 1/4 of the circle, that means that 1/4 of the students prefer tigers. So all we need to find is 1/4 of 760. Therefore, it is 760 divided by 4. 4's into 7 go once with 3 remaining. 4's into 36 go 9. 4's into 0 is nothing. Therefore, at school B, there are 190 students. So our two answers are 200 and 190. Therefore, no, Henry is not correct. Question 19, we have a number line and we have to write down the inequality shown on the number line. Well, we are looking with a number line the values of x, so x is going to be in the center of the inequality. The next thing we look at are the two extremes. So we have 1 at one side and we have -3 at the other. We know that x is larger than -3 and smaller than 1 because x is all the values in between. Then of course we have to look at the two circles, and don't forget, if we have a circle that is filled in as we do at -3 here, it means that x can also be equal to -3. Therefore we need to include the equals part of the symbol, but on the other end the circle is empty, therefore x is not equal to 1. So the inequality, x is larger or equal to -3, but it is smaller than -1. Question 20. Find the lowest common multiple of 108 and 120. We're going to do this two different ways. Either way is perfectly satisfactory. First of all, we will look at the multiples of both numbers. So let's list a few multiples of 108. So 1 times 108, and then it would be 216. Then it would be 324, 432, 540. I'm obviously just adding 108 each time. 648, 756. Let's just stop there for a moment and have a look at the multiples of 120, see whether any of them match. We have 120, then we have 240, then 360, 480, 600, 720, 840, 960. Let's carry on with the first column. The next one at 108 would be 864, 972, and the next one would be 1080. Let's go with this again. The next one is 1080. Therefore, the first number that has appeared on both sets of multiples is 1080, and that is your answer. Now this method can be a little laborious. You don't know quite how long you're going to have to continue. As you saw, I kept adding numbers to both columns until I came up with the lowest common multiple, but it is a valid method to answer this question. Let's have a look at the second method. Our second method is not to consider multiples at all to begin with, but to actually look at factors, and we create a factor tree for both numbers, breaking it down into prime factors. So let's do 108 first. Well, 108 can break down to the number 2 and 54. 54 then breaks down to 2 and 27. 27 breaks down further. That becomes 9 and 3, and 9 is 3 and 3. 120 we can break down. Let's start with 12 and 10. 10 breaks down to 2 and 5, both prime numbers. 12 breaks down to 4 and 3, and the 4 breaks down to 2 and 2. So now here we have all the prime factors of both the numbers we are being asked about. What we do now is list them. The first of them is the number 2, and because it appears 3 times in 120, we put that down 3 times. We also have a number 3. Again, it appears 3 times in 108, so that's 3 times 3 times 3. We also have a number 5. It appears once. So we have put down each of the numbers. There are 2s, 3s and 5s, and we have recorded each number, the highest number of times it appears in any one factor tree. Now if we multiply these numbers together, we get 1080. As I mentioned before, both these methods work. This one needs a little bit more skill with multiplication. The other one is slightly more random, but either method is perfectly acceptable. In question 21, we are being asked for the value of n in a ratio of n to 1. And it's telling us about a choir. So we know there are 60 people in the choir and half of those people are women. It then says the number of women in the choir is 3 times the number of men in the choir, and the rest of the people in the choir are children. The ratio we are talking about is the number of children to the number of men, and it is in the form n to 1. We need to work out n. Let's have a look at this then. So the choir in total 60 people. It tells us that half of them are women. So half of 60, that must be 30. We are then told that there are 3 times as many women as there are men. Therefore, if there are 30 women, for it to be 3 times as many, there must only be 10 men. That is all our adults. 30 women, 10 men, therefore there are 40 adults altogether. The rest of them are kids. Well, 40 adults, 60 in the choir, therefore children must be the other 20. We are now asked for a ratio, and it is the number of children in the choir to the number of men. So let's have a look what numbers we've got. Children 20, men 10. We are asked to give the ratio in the form of n to 1, therefore we are going to simplify 20 and 10, divide both sides by 10, we get 2 to 1. There are 2 children for every man, therefore n equals 2. Question 22 is all about multiplying fractions. The complexity is a little higher with this one because they are both mixed numbers, and that is what we need to change. We would start this sum by turning them both into improper fractions. Let's have a look how we do that. Well, the first thing to do is multiply the 4 times the 1. That gives us 4, plus the 3 at the top gives us 7. So we have 7 quarters. Doing exactly the same with the second mixed number, the 3 times the 1 is 3, plus the 1 at the top is 4. We have therefore now converted, we have 4 thirds. All we need to do now is multiply across the top. 7 times 4 is 28, and 4 times 3 is 12. So our answer is 28 over 12. We are asked to give our answer as a mixed number. So how many 12s are there in 28? The answer is 2. 2 12s are 24, so we are left with 4 12ths, and if we are going to be absolutely perfect with our answer, we can simplify that again to 2 and 1/3. In 23, we're asked to use a ruler and compasses to construct the line from the point P perpendicular to the line CD. In other words, a line going vertically straight down, crossing CD at 90 degrees from P. Not so easy to do on a screen here, but I will do my best. First we use the compasses, and I'm going to put the sharp point on P. I am then going to move it around slightly so that I get my pencil exactly on point D, and that is probably as accurate as I can be with the software here. Once I have it placed, I'm going to draw an arc so that it crosses the line between D and C, and in fact I'm going to call this point E. The important thing that point E here and point D here are equidistant from P. Now let's go back to the compasses, and I'm going to put the point on D as best I can. I am going to narrow the gap of the compasses a little, but no more than halfway, and from here I'm going to draw an arc of a circle. I then move the compasses and place the point on E. Let's move the compass round a little bit, and from here I'm going to draw another arc. Because I haven't changed the gap between the pencil and the point on the compasses, those two arcs have the same diameter. We should now find if we've been accurate, and it will certainly be possible for you to be more so than I can here. I should now find that if I draw a line with a ruler from the bottom cross on the diagram here up through the top cross, it will also go through point P. That is therefore a line perpendicular to CD, which goes from the point P. Question 24, all about angles and triangles. Let's have a look at the information we've been given. We have a triangle, ABC. ADB, the side down here, is a straight line, as it would be in a triangle. The size of angle DCB, which is this angle here, as a ratio to the size of angle ACD, which is the smaller of the two angles, is 2 to 1. In other words, this angle is 2 times the size of this angle. We need to find the size of angle BDC, so we are looking for this angle here. Okay, what information do we have? Well, we have the size of two of the angles in the larger overall triangle. We know they have to add up to 180. Therefore, if we add up 75 plus 51, that gives us 126. Therefore, if we take 180 and take away 126, that means the angle at C, the whole angle here, is 54 degrees. We then have a ratio of 2 to 1. So in this ratio there are a total of 3 parts. So if we take the 54 degrees, don't forget this is the 54 here all the way across. If we take the 54 degrees and divide it by the number of parts in the ratio, which is 3, it means each part of the ratio is 18 degrees. So in fact, the smaller angle here is 18. The larger angle is twice, it has 2 parts of the ratio, therefore it is 36 degrees. Now we go back to the rule of angles inside the triangle adding up to 180, but we are now looking at just the lower triangle, BDC. We know that 2 of the angles are 51 plus 36, so they add up to 87 degrees. We then have to take 87 away from 180, and we find the answer is 93 degrees. So BDC, 93 degrees. Question 25, all about bricks. 4 red bricks have a mean weight of 5 kilograms, 5 blue bricks, mean weight of 9 kilograms, and 1 green brick weighs 6. Donna is saying the mean weight of the 10 bricks is less than 7 kilograms. Well, mean of course is average. So let's have a look at the 4 red bricks. If the 4 bricks have an average mean weight of 5 kilograms, then to find their total weight, it is simply 4 times the average weight. Therefore, the total weight of the red bricks is 20 kilograms. And the same for the blue. We have 5 bricks. They have a mean average weight of 9. So 5 times 9, the total weight is 45. We then have 1 green brick, which is 6. So if we add them all together, the total weight of the 10 bricks is 71 kilograms. To find the average, it is simply 71 divided by the total number of bricks. There are 10 of them, so 71 divided by 10 is 7.1 kilograms. Is Donna correct? No, she is not. The weight on average is slightly higher than 7 kilograms. 26, we are back to algebra, and 26a says simplify. In brackets we have p squared, and that is to the power of 5. We follow the rule that if we have a power inside the bracket and another power outside, we simply multiply them together. 2 times 5, the answer is p to the power 10. Part B, we have 2 terms and we're asked to divide the first term by the second. We do this in order. First we look at the numbers and then each letter in alphabetical order. So the first thing we are doing is dividing 12 by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. We then look at the x's. We have x to the power 7 divided by x to the power 3. And again, we have a rule for this. If we are dividing letters with powers, then we subtract the power. So x to the 7 divided by x to the 3, it is 7 minus 3, it is x to the 4. And we do the same with the y, not forgetting that a y on its own is the same as y to the 1. So this is y to the power 3 divided by y to the power 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And there is our answer, 2 x to the power 4 y squared. Question 27. The accurate scale drawing shows the positions of a port at P and a lighthouse at L. Both of these points have arrows pointing north, and we are told that this is a scale drawing. So on the diagram here, 1 centimetre represents 4 kilometres. Now I have to say at this point that although your exam paper might be an accurate scale drawing, unfortunately on the computer screen here I don't have that. Therefore all I can do is show you the method by which you would answer this question. My answer will not be accurate to the scale. So let's find out what happens here. Well, Alina sails her boat from Port P on a bearing of 070 degrees. So bearings, they are measured from north and they are measured clockwise. A bearing always has 3 digits. So we're going to need a protractor, and the protractor needs to have its center point on point P with the 0 pointing north. We are then going to measure round 70 degrees, which is at the point here, 70 degrees. We can now move the protractor, and with a ruler you can then draw a line from point P through the 70 degree mark, the 070 bearing. So that's the direction in which she's going to travel. We now know that she sails for 1.5 hours at an average speed of 12 kilometers per hour to a port at Q. So 1.5 hours, average speed 12 kilometers per hour. It says find the distance of port Q from the lighthouse at L. We need First of all, to figure out how far she has travelled. So in 1 hour, she's doing an average speed of 12 kilometers per hour. In 1 hour, she's travelled 12 kilometers. She then travels another half an hour, so half of 12 is 6. She travels for 18 kilometers. We need to show this on the blue line here, the distance that she's travelled. So our scale says 4 kilometers is 1 centimeter. So if we have 18 kilometers, then we have to divide that by 4. And the answer we get is 4.5 centimeters. Now this is the part I cannot do. You need to take your ruler and accurately measure 4.5 centimeters and mark the point Q, which is where she sailed to. Your next job is to measure the distance, this is part 1 of the question, of Q from L. So you are going to take a line from L to Q and measure that distance. Now you will measure it in centimeters, and then once you have that measurement, multiply it by 4 to get the kilometers. That will be part 1. Part 2, you need to find the bearing of Q from L. Don't forget, again, bearings from north clockwise, so you need to measure this angle all the way around here. Probably the simplest way to do this would be to measure this angle here and subtract it from 360 degrees. In question 28 we have another triangle, triangle AOB. We are being told the angle AOB, so the bottom angle at O, is not an obtuse angle. We're asked for the greatest value of x. Okay, let's think about this. Obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is larger than 90 degrees and smaller than 180 degrees. Therefore, if an obtuse angle is larger than 90 and this is not obtuse, there are two things it could be. It could be an acute angle, or it could be a right angle. Now we are looking for it to be as large an angle as it possibly can be to find the greatest value of x. Therefore, we have to assume that AOB is indeed a right angle. Therefore, it is 90 degrees. We need to find the value of x at 90 degrees. So, looking at the 3 parts of the angle, we have 2x plus we have 1 part of the angle at 3x plus we have 10 degrees. If we add all those 3 angles up, we know, because it's a right angle, that the total is 90. So let's just add the x's together. We have 5x plus 10 equals 90. I am going to move the 10 to the other side of the equation. Therefore, it becomes a minus 10. So we have 5x equals 90 minus 10. So 5x equals 80. X is therefore 80 divided by 5, which is equal to 16 degrees. And finally, question 29, part A. We have ABC, the triangle on the left, and PQR, the triangle on the right. We are told they are similar. We are told angle ABC equals angle PQR. So ABC, PQR, they are the same as they would be with similar triangles. We're asked to work out the length of PR. So we're looking at the side of the smaller triangle here. Well, because they are similar, it means that the ratio of the sides are going to be the same. So let's have a look at the 2 sides that we do know about, which is 10 on the smaller and 15 on the larger triangle. So the ratio of these two sides is 15 to 10. Now a ratio, of course, we can simplify in the same way we do with the fraction, and in fact if we divide both sides by 5, we find we can simplify this fraction down to 3 to 2. Now let's have a look at the vertical sides. Well, on the larger triangle here, it's actually 9. So let's put that into the ratio. We are then looking for the missing side of this ratio, which is length PR. Let's have a look what's happened to the numbers here. From 3, we have now multiplied by 3. So the rule with the ratio, what we do to one side, we do to the other. So that also has to be multiplied by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Therefore, PR is 6 centimetres. And part B, triangle EGH, left-hand one, is congruent to triangle KGF. Congruent simply means they are the same triangle. They have the same angles, the same sides, but in this case, one triangle has been rotated 90 degrees to the other. We're being asked to work out the length of E to F. Let's have a look at what we do know. HK is 10, so the whole length here is 10 centimetres. HG is 4. This means that G to K must be 6 centimetres. We now have everything that we need, because if the two triangles are the same, this means that if GK is 6, then G to E must also be 6 centimetres. Similarly, if the short side of the triangle here is 4 centimetres, then this side here is also 4 centimetres. So to work out the distance between E and F, it is simply 6. Take away 4, there must be 2 centimetres between E and F. And that's the paper completed. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you do find that useful, please do subscribe to my channel, and if you hit the notification button, you'll get to hear of any new videos, and hopefully I will see you again. Thank you.